When order is replaced by chaos, when stability is replaced by violence, then the strong shall rule these lands. This was a lesson King Charles the Despot clearly had yet to learn. For a bloodlord and his warband stood in the path of the king's army. But the fool strode forth and went into a boorish speech anyway. Something about birthright and how he's destined to rule these lands. A proclamation the bloodlord found amusing. But he neglected to listen to anything else, until the bastard ended his speech with a single demand.
Now, kneel before your king.
Silence met his demand for what felt like an eternity, until the bloodlord suddenly let loose a bellowing laugh, which quickly spread to the rest of the warband, leading to a cacophony of laughs and jeers mixed with piercing cries of battle-crazed excitement, which slightly unnerved the invading soldiers. But to his credit, the king was far more insulted than afraid, his face red with rage that these barbarians would dare mock a king.
Kill them all, and bring me their leader's head!
Not daring to defy their liege, orders were declared and the army advanced. The front ranks were comprised of levied spearmen, their inexperience plain on their terrified faces as they held their weapons in shaky hands, the threats of the overseers being the only thing that kept them from breaking. Behind them marched the men-at-arms, trained soldiers armed with a variety of weapons ranging from bastard swords to hand axes, who marched on without complaint, but held no hopes for glory in the coming battle, unlike the knights which rode on the army's left flank. The archers which took up the rear were just glad they wouldn't receive the bulk of the coming charge. With the invaders having declared their challenge, the warriors of the Blooded howled with excitement at the coming fight, one the Bloodlord was not about to deny them. So with a roar of his own, he and the warband charged. There was no cohesion in their ranks, only a desire to kill expressed in the mass of thundering footfalls, roaring chain weapons, and bloodthirsty howls, which caused significant portions of the levies to break in terror before the fighting even started. Overseers be damned. But their feeble efforts at survival were futile, for the hounds of the Blooded, surging ahead of their masters, were able to catch up to the fleeing levies and proceeded to tear them apart. The lucky ones died instantly from a bite to the neck before their bodies were devoured, but many more were alive and conscious as they endured a similar fate, puncturing the air with wails of agony. Those among them that stood their ground fared little better, for in mere moments, the main force of the Blooded was upon them, and body parts started flying. A few spearmen were able to land lucky hits in non-vital areas, but were met with bloody reprisal for their efforts. The few guns the Blooded possessed spat out their volatile payloads, turning bodies into bloody chunks and red mist, as their chain weapons cleaved through the peasants like the wheat they once harvested before their untimely demise. Just as quickly as battle was joined, so too had the first phase of battle concluded. For how could untrained peasants armed with sticks stand against the strongest of the wastes? But no matter, the men-at-arms would not be such a feeble opponent, standing firm as they slowly advanced in a shield wall formation. But if this show of force was meant to intimidate the Blooded, they were sorely mistaken, for it only served to excite them even further. The savage warriors charging headlong into the men-at-arms ranks. But this time, The resulting clash was not one-sided, for the shield wall held firm all across the line. Chain weapons tore through shields and armor as blades pierced flesh, and the ground became drenched in the blood of this deadly dance as bodies began to pile up on both sides. The knights did not remain idle in these moments, urging their horses to a gallop with the intent of flanking the savages. A maneuver the Bloodlord did not miss. Indifferent to the arrows which fell upon him and the warband, he commanded a portion of his warriors to follow him in meeting these new foes, many surviving hounds joining him in the attack. This clash proved to be the most chaotic of the entire battle. Knights thrown off their mounts, horses torn apart by packs of hounds, blooded warriors being impaled upon lances. Not even the archers were spared from the chaos, as some knights and horses were thrown into their ranks, killing some through sheer force of impact. All of this was happening so fast. The king could not maintain his bravado in the face of this impending disaster. The efforts of the men-at-arms were proving futile, as one by one they were breaking either in spirit or in body. Those knights that did survive were in no condition to continue fighting, and his generals and intendants were desperate for his guidance. But he had none to give, and even if he did, he was quickly silenced by a chain axe to the face. The Bloodlord was intrigued, for he had just now received word of an impending battle beyond the gates. A grand prize for the taking. He wished to know more, so he bade the warrior that kneeled before him to continue. Tell me more about this North Pole.
It is situated on a world of ice, whose gate lies in the western reaches. Unlike the whelps you have crushed this day, they possess far more powerful weapons, and their defenses are expanding ever more each day. They have already repelled several off-worlder warbands. Truly, this would be a battle worthy of the blooded, and of you.
The Bloodlord pondered this for but a moment before speaking. You've done me a great service tracking this battlefield down. The warband shall be granted 2 days to celebrate this victory, and then we make for the western reaches.